Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Omar Harris. I'm back again with another video. So I want to continue on with my, if you want to say, little series, my so-called war story testimony. So the first video I did, as you guys can recall, was my war story testimony when I was discussing my experience going through the Metro Police Department Corrections Academy for Las Vegas 9 years ago. I kind of talked about the employment process leading up to the academy, the 20-week academy, and some of the things that we had to endure, some of the things that we had to go through, maybe a couple of things I struggled with. And then I also had discussed about the field training and how I end up failing the field training. In other words, end up falling flat on my face, and as a result, not having a career with Metro anymore. So what I want to do is I want to follow it up with another war story. I want to follow up with my time that I spent living in California, talking about talking about um, my experience as far as receiving my certification, electrical certification, as well as moving forward and getting my CDL. So I had did a video of this previously. I think about the lab about a year ago or so. So I already kind of talked about or kind of summarized my time that I spent living in California for 2.5 years. So I just want to just kind of just go from start to finish and kind of touch on some of the things that I may not have touched on detail throughout my time there as I was going through the electrical program. So around August of 2021, I ended up relocating from Las Vegas to the Inland Empire of California to go stay with my uncle who resides in that area. Now, the reason why I did that is because my aunt was telling me that they was that Edison International, Edison, there's the power company out there, that they were getting ready to they was going to have $1 million worth of scholarship money, and they were looking to hire more blacks in the workplace, specifically in the electrical field. And so they were having a program to where they were getting ready to um, actually pay for them to go through school to get the certification, to get the CDL, and therefore once they had those two credentials, that they will be hired on as groundsmen and start the career with Edison. So I end up putting in submitting the essay. This was around like April 2021. So I end up submitting the essay, and I want to say around July, I end up getting a response back and got confirmation that I've been accepted to start the program at LA Trade Tech. So even leading up to that, the fact that the whole idea of me having to uproot and kind of leave everything that I know here in Vegas and move to another state was pretty scary. And there were some nights where I did not get much sleep because I was just thinking about what my life was going to be like once I once I made that transition. But the funny thing is that after I thought about it, after I meditated on it, got the confirmation that I was going to be heading up there, and of course I prayed on it and everything. But once I packed my bags and set off to hit the road, I did not even look in the rearview mirror because I knew, like, you know what? In order for this to work, I'm going to have to leave the past in the past, leave my old life back in Vegas, and just have tunnel vision and just think about what's going forward. So I started going to school at the end of August 2021. Now, for that program, we had to take two introductory courses. So I ended up having to take like a fundamentals math course for that first semester in the fall, and then I had to take it was like an introductory hand tools course where we would pretty much like do these different projects and make things out of the tools and equipment that they give us in order for us to be more familiar with using hand tools. So so I passed those classes, no problem. That was an issue at all. Now, the following semester in June of 2022, that was the Powerline Mechanic trainee course. So what that course was that it was a 15-week course, and you would go to school full time. I might add, you would go to school full time for 15 weeks to learn the basics and the fundamentals of becoming a groundman and becoming a power lineman. Now, the thing is that I was living in the Inland Empire in a small city called Paris. It's like right smack dab in the middle of the Inland Empire, and I would have to travel to L.A., downtown L.A. for school every single day. So you're looking at maybe about an hour and a half drive time. So class would start at 7 a.m. and then it would end at around 2. There were some days where we leave early. So I would have to get up at 3:45 every morning. 3:45. And I would either go and I would have to go pick up my friend who stayed in Moreno Valley because he was in the same program as I was in. He was one of the Edison scholars, and we would rotate on driving back and forth to campus. So those were some long days where we had to start at 3:45 in the morning. Now, during that 15 weeks, first off, in order for us to do the job, we had to be physically fit. So we had to either run or walk 2 miles downtown every single day. We did that for the first 11 weeks. So I wonder how many of y'all will be willing to run 2 miles at 7 o'clock in the morning and it's cold outside. We had to do that every day for the first 11 weeks of the program. So that was something to get used to. Now, at about the third week, once you got used to it, it wasn't as much of a chore. But that's something that we had to do. The next thing that we had to do was that we had to learn how to climb the pole using the equipment, where there was like some spikes. You had to wear some boots that had spikes that was kind of like pointed inward that we used to walk up the pole. And then there was a harness that you would strap yourself on as you're going up the pole. So we had to learn how to climb the pole, going up the pole, going down the pole, spinning around, doing certain maneuvers where we got to stick our arms out and go way over here or going way over there in the other direction. And if you're 35 feet off the ground, that was something that you had to get used to. So for the first 2 weeks, that's all we did was learn how to climb up and down the pole, up and down the pole, up and down the pole. Once we got comfortable climbing up and down the pole and spiraling down the pole and all that, the next thing we did is that we start to learn how to put the crossbar on the pole. We learned how to put the V-brace using our tools and hammer it into the pole. Learning how to put the insulators on each side of the crossbar. So we had to learn how to do that. First, we'll start like in the middle of the pole, and then as we got more comfortable, go all the way down to the top. Now we also had to learn how to use what was called the A-frame, where it was this heavy piece of equipment that weighed like 50, 60 pounds that we had to get we had to be familiar with putting on top of the pole and taking it off the pole. Now, I can remember on our the last couple weeks of school, the last week, what we did was that during our final exam, we had we took 11 written tests for those first 11 weeks, right? We had to take 11 written tests, and we had to pass with a 70 or above. Now, once the written tests were done, then that's when we were practicing with our final. So our final exam consisted of 4 things. We had to learn how to do 8 different, we had to learn 8 different maneuvers as far as how to tie the rope. That was the first concept. Then we had to climb up the pole. go around once, go back around, and then come back down. We had to do that in 5 minutes. Then we had to do like what was called like kind of like a jungle gym obstacle course where we had to go up the pole and we had to climb over obstacles safely, get to the top, take one insulator, put it to the other side, um, properly secure it, and come down the pole. I think we had maybe about 15 minutes to do that. And then the very last thing we had to do was that we had to put a double crossbar on the pole, and then put set the A-frame up there, take the A-frame down, and then disassemble everything. So we had to assemble a double crossbar, put the V-brace on, put the insulators on, and then assemble the A-frame on top of it, take it off, and then disassemble everything else in a safe way, and climb back down the pole safely. We had 2 hours. So I had no problem doing the ropes. The ropes was the easy part. I had no problem climbing up and down the pole. I had no problem like doing the obstacle course. That was no issue at all. What killed me was when it was time to set the double crossbars up and put the A-frame up. Now, usually it would take guys in our class, it took somebody maybe as quick as 38 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour, 15 minutes. That took me almost 2 hours. When I tell you I was so exhausted and so drained, I couldn't wait to be done. But I was able to actually pass that. I was able to pass that. So I ended up passing the course. I got my 20 credits. And on graduation day, myself along with the 11 of the other Edison scholars, we end up getting graduating with our electrical Powerline Mechanic certification. So this was in June. Now, like I said, the next step for that was to get our CDLs. You had to go to we had to go to a trucking school, and we had to get a certain amount of hours of practice to learn the different parts of the truck, whether it's underneath the hood, all the inside components of the truck. We had to learn the different parking maneuvers, the straight back, the offset, and then the parking maneuvers where you have to kind of go like that and kind of curve around inside the cone. And then the final part is that we have to learn how to drive. And mind you, this was we had to learn how to drive stick shift, and we had to learn how to shift gears and stuff while we were driving a heavy trailer truck. So it was going to be a upward learning curve for me because I never drove stick shift before. So during the trucking school, I did trucking school for maybe about from May up until I want to say at the end of September. There were days where I would go 2 times in a day just so I could get the practice. And the trucking school cost $3,200 for an 8-week program. And so not only did I pay the $3,200, but I ended up paying an additional $1,800 so I could have more practice time driving on the road. Now, when it came down to do the test, I came to the DMV 4 times. The first time I went there, I did the inspection, and I think I did 2 of the maneuvers, but I didn't pass the 3rd maneuver or whatever. The second time I did an inspection, I did the maneuver, and then when it was time to go on the road, I said, you know what, I'm not ready yet. So that was the second try, right? So the 3rd time, I did the inspection, I did the maneuvers, and then I went to the road to drive. Now what happened was that the tricky part is when a trucker gets on an incline, and you stop the truck at a stop sign, at a stoplight, when the light goes green again, there's a certain way that you have to hit the gas and the clutch and the brake in order for the truck to continue to go on an incline. Otherwise, it's going to stall out, and you're stuck right there. You got cars honking on you. So the first time I was on the road, that ended up happening, And I'm just a nervous wreck. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do. This is crazy. I didn't pass that part. So I go back to the trucking school. I do some more practice. I come back for my very last time at the DMV. And when it's time to do the road test, it did it to me again. It did it to me again. There were some parts where I was able to maneuver going up the hill when I came to a full stop. But then there was other times that I recall where the truck actually stopped and it stalled out on me. And the fact that it stalled out, that was an automatic failure. And from that point, I exhausted all my tries at the DMV. And long story short, I did not end up getting my CDL. So the whole prospect of having a very lucrative career where I could have made anywhere from 80 to maybe over $100,000, that was just going out the window. And so at that point, it was like, man, you know what? This is the second time that I've actually tried my hand in a different career path and things did not pan out for me. It didn't pan out for me. Now, as I was saying earlier, the reason why I went was because that failure that I had with Metro, at that time, I'm thinking, you know what, that was the hardest thing going through that academy and field training. That was not necessarily physically, but mentally and emotionally, that was the hardest thing that I ever had to go through in my life. So if I was able to get through that, then me relocating to California and getting through this program should be a breeze. And that was only halfway true, because you never know how things are going to turn out, even if you are the most optimistic person there is. So that's another, as you can say, one of my war story testimonies was the fact that going through this program, I was able to get my certification, but I wasn't able to get my CDL, and therefore I ended up falling short and not having a career. Now, what I want to show you guys is a shout out to T-Shirt Diner that's inside of the Meadows Mall. So I like to have T-shirts made where, you know, you can kind of put any type of slogan that you want. So as you can see, this shirt right here, it says the War General on it. You know, and the reason why I had that and it has the number 1 because I'm paying homage to the number that I wore my last year of Pop Warner football. And then this is what the back of the shirt looked like. Got my last name, it got the number 1, and then it says "We Lead" from the front. The reason why I have that shirt is because that I put the War General across the shirt is because I've been through some battles. I got some battle scars. Not everything panned out the way that I originally thought was going to pan out for me in life. So that was one of the things that you learn, you know, as you become a man. It's like there are going to be some times where you're not always going to come out victorious. There are going to be some times where you're going to fall flat on your face. And you end up learning more about yourself in those moments. So that was another war story testimony that I have to share with you guys with my time being in California as I was going through that Powerline electric program. So I appreciate y'all watching the video, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.